Welcome back, friends and fellow meat enthusiasts. What I've got here is a whole beef shoulder clod. There's a lot of different ways to cut one of these. It's got a lot of silver and a lot of sinew all over. It's not a particularly pretty piece of meat. The way you see it merchandised at a grocery store or for profit may include shoulder London broils, shoulder steaks, flat iron steaks. I'm not necessarily cutting it for profit here. I'm going to cut it the way my household wants to eat it, the cuts that I would actually eat. I'm a big fan of using the entire animal. You can't just eat ribeyes all the time. I mean, you can, but I don't like. I like to use it all. Everything from an oxtail to some beef cheek meat, and everything in between. So we haven't really paid a lot of attention to a shoulder clod on this channel yet. I think eventually we'll hit every cut of meat. There's just a lot of silver there. Doesn't eat really well, doesn't taste really well. Just taking some of that off. This piece here, where flat irons come off, and I've seen them where they're sliced this way. A lot of times called a chicken steak, a little bit thicker, could be called a soup meat. I've even heard it called a Spencer steak. I guess it really depends on where you are. So we're going to put that aside for now. Got this hard silver on top. Just want to get that started. And with just the tip of your knife, and you put a little tension on that silver. You should be able to avoid taking a lot of meat with you. A lot of places don't care. They just shave a whole bunch of meat off with it, throw it right in the grinder. Where I came from, you were screamed at in German. So you take the silver off clean. So there is a way where you have this seam and you come down here and you clean it up and leave it attached, roll it and tie it back together. We're not interested in that. We're just going to separate it straight apart at the seam. Back to that later as well. So here's your main clod. Got a little more cleaning up to do. If we were leaving any kind of roast or steak, I would leave some of this fat cap on. For what I want to do with it, I'm just going to remove everything. I'm going to get it totally clean. Once again, we're going to get it started, just the tip of the blade. None of this will be wasted. Anything we trim off, at the very least, will be ground. This is probably the ugliest, more useless part that we're going to seam out and clean up. A lot of this fat, especially off this part, isn't very good quality. Pretty stringy. Back to the flat iron. So flat iron, there's actually 2 flat irons on here, separated by some silver in the middle. It actually doesn't start until after this here. And a lot of times you run into on a cow when there's this much connective tissue. It's not pleasant because you don't want to chew it, but at the same time, the meat close to connective tissue is usually pretty tender. So you see this little sinewy knot here? That's your starting point. So there you have it. So like I said, not how you typically see it done, but this is what I want to do. I don't mind having a lot of burger, so I completely took out all the silver and sinew for the cuts I do want to eat. And you know, you could do shoulder steaks and leave a lot of that stuff on, roasts and things like that. I'm good. What I'm gonna do instead, I'll probably take this bigger piece here, the main part of the clod, and I'll probably slice it as steaks, giving me the option to run it through a cuber, making cube steaks. Out of this piece here, I'm probably gonna go ahead and make some boneless short ribs. I know those traditionally come off the chuck, but this is close enough, and I've done it before and they turn out really nice and they're pretty lean, and the consistency is nice, so we're gonna do that. Same thing with this little pieces here. If you want stew, stir fry, fajita meat, all that stuff, all great out of this, all works just fine. And then of course our flat irons, which I think is what we're gonna cook up today. Take a short rib off the front, and then do some cuber pieces. Just like that there. Try one out for grilling. Flat irons, stew, to be cube steaks, shoulder steaks, and boneless short ribs. If these look too big to you, one thing you can do, that might look a little more what you're used to. I'd rather leave them big sometimes, but this can look nice too. I'll run these through the cuber. I like to drop each one through about 3 times. A lot of people like to bread and fry these, but it's already a good cut, and you tenderize it this way. You really just season it, cook it as is. Ooh, what are we doing? Sit. Twist. Catch. Not a problem. Open up the hopper here. I'm gonna grind our trim that I just cleaned up. Like I said, some parts of that shoulder fat is not the highest quality. It would work, you could grind it. If I'm going through the trouble of doing this at home, I went ahead and I got some steak fat, a little higher quality, makes for a better burger that I'm gonna add in as we grind. If you guys are interested in this grinder, the cuber we used, even the knives I used, we're going to put the link to everything in the description below in case you want to get into home processing yourself. You don't have to add that much fat if you don't want, but I like a juicy burger. And we can patty it up all uniformed in a press, but today I'm just going to go by hand, get some nice good size homemade burgers. Get me a beer. Good boy. What a good boy. Let's go start the grill. Charcoal's ready. Let's get them on. I'm gonna move these over to the cool side of the grill. They're not too thick, so really won't take much more time. Flat irons are done. Cut into them. Get out of here, Snoot. Absolutely amazing. Super tender. 2 flat irons on each shoulder, so there's only 4 on each cow. Only a matter of time before this goes up in price. You guys, try out the flat iron steak. A little salt, pepper, garlic, hard sear, medium rare in the middle. You can't go wrong. Absolutely delicious. Guys, I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to keep up with what we're doing. Thanks a lot for watching. Is a rivalry between 2 vegans still called a beef?